Welcome back to Truth to Tell. I'm Michelle Ali Murati.
And I'm Andy Driscoll, and let's hope everyone is finding that cool spot where dew points are breathable. Be careful out there with this heat warning and a projected index of some 105 degrees. And before we get started, we want to just pause for a moment to reflect very little, but very deeply about a friend of ours who's passed away. We thought he was going to make it through some tough times with his cancer, but Hussein Samatar, the school board member in Minneapolis, who's been probably one of the finest drivers of Somali and East African business success here in Minneapolis, and the founder of the African Development Center, died yesterday of his cancer. His funeral is today in Muslim tradition. And we just send out our love and regards to everybody who loved him, and he was a friend of our show and a friend of ours. We'll miss him very much. Hussein Samatar, dead at, I think, about 55 years old. So. Okay, we've had conversations galore about affordable housing options around the state and metro, and especially when foreclosures mushroomed. Plus, what to do about the underwater mortgages when home values tanked. We covered those like a blanket, or at least as much as we could, we thought. What we've never really touched on before are the community land trust options.
The what?
The community land trusts. A fascinating option for keeping housing affordable and in good repair, among other things. We really want to talk about those.
Yeah, community land trusts are an interesting way to own your own house, or rather lease it and sort of rent the land it sits on. We'll clarify those details in our conversation to come.
Jeff Washburn, in truth, we should have brought this story to you long ago, but it just came back into our orbit again this last week, and I was afraid we'd not be able to get this right up to the last minute through last Friday, but both of the vacationing land trust executives in town were willing to make a show of it after we got hold of them at the last minute, and they're both here today.
Yes, we have with us Jeff Washburn, who is the executive director of the City of Lakes Community Land Trust in Minneapolis, and he was good enough to respond in time to join us, even as he returns to a full inbox at the office this morning. Jeff, we appreciate you coming in. Welcome to Truth to Tell.
Good morning. Thank you.
And my old friend Greg Finzel from the Summit University area, who is executive director of the Rondo Community Land Trust. Both of these guys, however, Greg, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in at the last minute. Both these guys are also in the general affordable housing business, and we want to talk about that as well. What is the climate out there for affordable housing? And so we want to make sure that you participate in this discussion.
Yes, so to get your questions and comments in on the air today, you can call us at 612-341-0980, 612-341-0980. You can also tweet us at TruthToTell, at TTT Andy Driscoll is Andy's handle.
Oh, get that right.
At TTT Andy Driscoll altogether. Or post your questions and comments on Truth to Tell's Facebook page, facebook.com/TruthToTell. And we're also streaming live. In case you're just listening right now, you can also be watching.
Yeah.
If you go to livestream.com/TruthToTellMN, and then you will hook up with our lovely live stream video that Craig is so greatly providing today.
Thank you, Greg.
We've got a Greg and
Thanks,
a Craig.
Everybody. Now, Craig Stelmacher. Yes, he's our videographer, and we're delighted. Well, okay. Let's get a sort of a sense. Greg, you've been around this business a long time. Would you talk about what is a community land trust? How did it come to be? Why did it come to be?
Sure. Thanks, Andy. In the late 1980s, I was working at the Summit University Planning Council in St. Paul, and there was a lot of vacant land in that neighborhood, if you know the Rondo Summit U neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
And what we were finding was that the affordability of affordable housing was being lost after the first owner. So the housing was being built, it was being subsidized, but then after the first owner, it would go into the market and wouldn't be affordable for the second, third, and fourth family. We searched around the country. We found this land trust model. Ironically, when we did some more research, we found out that it was almost used here on the West Bank in Minneapolis. That one of the original ideas during the redevelopment here on the West Bank was to create a land trust, but for a variety of reasons that didn't work.
Is this like Tim Mungavin, those guys?
Jack Can.
Okay. Oh, Jack Can.
Jack
sure.
Can,
Yeah.
Bart Broen, Ann Waterhouse.
All right. Some of the
regular
giants
cast
of
care-
the old, yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
They were here for a variety of reasons. It didn't work out, but they were very helpful in when we set ours up. About the same time, Steve O'Neill up in Duluth, who sadly just passed away as well here recently, was also researching and decided to create a land trust up in Duluth. And so collectively, we worked with the Institute for Community Economics, or known as ICE, out of Massachusetts, and brought their staff up, both here for Duluth and for us. And basically, we created 2 land trusts about the same time. And
Now, these have taken, we'll get into the structure of a land trust in just a second here, but these have taken hold all over the country, haven't they? I mean, I remember some of the models for us, weren't they in Portland or something? Did I see this in Portland, Jeff?
There are over 250 community land trusts now across the nation, and here in Minnesota there are 9 community land trusts that are
Okay,
active.
I see. And were we on the cutting edge, or was Portland, or what was the deal?
Most of the community land trusts started in the Northeast and then kind of jumped over us, and there was a start of a number of community land trusts in the Northwest states. But both the Rondo Community Land Trust and Northern Communities Land Trust, now known as One Roof Housing, started early on, and then there was a decade gap before the other 9-10 community land trusts here in Minnesota got started, and we were able to, after all the hard work that those organizations did, our organizations and others here in the state were able to ride their coattails.
So it sounds like it was an idea that really caught on, Greg, and let's talk about how St. Paul looks, for instance, or what does a community land trust do?
Sure. I think the most important piece is that as the land trust tries to keep the housing affordable, not just for the first family, but for the second, third, and fourth family or generations that will occupy it. And so we use a limited equity formula that tries to ensure that stays affordable.
A limited equity
Equity
formula.
formula.
Explain that just a little bit.
Sure. Basically, what it is that the family agrees to take less than 100% of the appreciation when they go to sell the house. And so in our case, it's 25% of the appreciation, of increase in appreciation, whatever that might be.
So you're fighting inflation in a sense.
Right.
But also taking some of the equity and putting it sort of back into the land so that you can maintain the house, and
Right.
just because it's going to lose its owner? Is that it? I
Well-
mean, they're going to move on, and
Well,
now you're going to
the idea is that the first family will earn